Y'all can see us as we're preparing, we're going.
Live streamed. I pressed got it.
There you go. Cool. But I like to see everyone. So you're going to bear with me until I get to see you. There you go. All right. So welcome everyone to Know the Rules of the Game. I know we're not. We're playing Know the Rules. Tells you where I'm at. Okay, so we're going to go back. We're going to do the start over. Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Desiree Patno. I'm the CEO and the founder and the chairwoman of the NDILC, Diversity Inclusion Leadership Council. We are getting on with the real life stories of what this is about, and we are in our second season now. And this principle is number 5, know yourself. Be authentic and lead in a way that is true to you. Own your unique talents and strengths and empower those around you. So this is the delegate form that you see right now. And thank you, ladies, for joining us. And I know several of us are here, there, and everyone else. And so it is what we can do. But the ideas is what we're going to bring today to talk about is we're going to share a story. We're going to share a book that really highlights know yourself. And here I am in my 6th decade of being on this beautiful earth that we can see behind Angie right now, what that looks like and everything else to go with it, is I didn't find myself until a couple years ago, truly who I am and what I am about. But that has evolved. It's not been something that you could say I was born this way. That's another show, another movie, another song. Okay. But the idea is that when I want to think about that is that how are we authentic and lead in a way that's true to you when you're 20, when you're 30, when you're 40, when you're 50, can very much change. And I don't want anyone to compare themselves to other people, what they've accomplished, what they haven't accomplished, because our journeys to the beautiful picture that Angie has behind her is that journey. Do you go up the mountain or do you go around the creek or do you go around the backside to come up and whatever easier? So that journey defines who you yourself is, to know yourself. So we have 2 incredible ladies, and Nancy will be joining us shortly. Angie, take a minute, introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I am Angie Weeks with Berkshire Hathaway in Newport Beach. I am a broker associate and just happy to be here with NAWRB, always inspired by the ladies in this group and all of moving and shaking that they do and innovation that they have going on in their minds, like multitasking happening. So my specialty is Airbnb rentals and selling homes in Southern California.
Very cool. Well, it's broker associate. That means that she's not just a realtor. She's a broker. That means she can own her own company, but she's also has the licenses and the designation to be bigger and better. So thank you, Angie. And Mickey.
Hi there. My name is Mickey Vandenberg. I am the National Escrow Advisory Director for DOMA, a large national title company. And I oversee all things escrow over there. So, and as always, super happy to be part of this tribe. It's very motivational and inspirational to be a part of this. So thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. Well, let's see. You head up a few different associations. You're really taking care of what's going down. There's so much power to that because I'd like everyone to know this is, and look at Angie. She didn't even live in her home the last 2 years. She was traveling around the world. I mean, where she is right now. And that is what I like to talk about is when we look at ourselves, you can't judge a book by its cover. Well, the idea is that to know yourself, you really have to know what's inside and not just the mechanics of what's making our body work. We were talking about our female life parts that, how life just throws us curveballs because we're all women. But it applies to everyone is that what made you and get you where you are today. And that's where we have to really take a step back to know ourselves, to know who we are, to know yourself, right? And so I think I'd love to open the question up and to start off is that when do you feel that you have found yourself, Mickey? I'll start with you. That you've gone through this incredible journey. You have a lot of things that have happened to you over the hood in the last couple of years, personally and professionally. And how has that changed you to really define yourself in moving forward?
I think one of the things that I've realized over the last couple of years is that life is all about contrast, right? And the contrast, I prefer it to come in the form of a question rather than in the form of a problem. But either way, it's about the contrast. If you don't have the one, you're not going to know what you want on the other side, if that makes sense. So for instance, if you don't have a job, like, if you don't know what that experience is and what it feels like, you won't know how much you'll appreciate having a job and things like that. So I think for me, it's like recognizing that life is about the contrast and that the joy is really like in the journey in between, like getting to the next part. And which it would include appreciating those things that you think are bad when you're in the middle of it. And then when you come out on the other side, you're like, okay, I see the benefit and I see how that made me grow and I see where the lessons were. I'm a self-improvement geek all the way around. I mean, I love looking at everything that, oh, there's Nancy. I love at anything that where I think this might give me like an extra step up or an extra leg up in my next, in the next journey that I'm on. So I think that is what has really shaped me over the last couple of years, is recognizing that it is about the contrast. And then we were talking about, reading books. Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. I think that is what like really kind of shaped. I know it's such an amazing book. And my favorite quote out of that book is the deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, but our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. And I think that has been such a motivating and inspiring quote for myself. As you're going through tough things in life, which we all do, remembering that.
I love that. It's, you think about, we could not be great leaders and help pay it forward if we don't have experience and have the passion to be able to play it there. And that's what makes, I think, as we grow, our journey so special, because we can pull from each other. But if we don't share in our experiences and share what we've gone through, then we're not going to see. I mean, I would have never known what Angie told me before, and I would have never known what Mickey told me before, and you would have known what Nancy's. All three of you have a commonality that we're not going to discuss on air right now, because it's not about that. But you all just went through the same thing at different parts of your life. And I shared a little, Nancy, behind the scenes what happened 3 weeks ago. But the idea is that this is what makes us incredible leaders, to understand, to know yourself, to know ourself, to understand, to your point, on what's the other side. And it's the journey. My husband always accused me of, it's not about getting the clothes. It's not about wearing the clothes and saying, hey, I have such and such brand on today. It's, you love the kill of getting the brand so cheap to be able to then go with it. That's part of your excitement, to be able to say, I got that at 3 cents on the dollar. And that's your journey that you're talking about, that go through it, right? And then I can turn around and say, I could sell it for more than what I paid for it, which is double what I paid for, what it would have retailed for, because the market's changed 30 years later. So I've capitalized on that from a business perspective, but I still got all the joy. And that's what I love what you said, Mickey, is that your quote really amplifies that. So welcome, Nancy, for joining us. I know we're all trying to, she's got this event of 150 people coming tomorrow, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, that she's asked me to come and speak. And I said, about what? Because I have a lot of different under my umbrella, but that's okay. So Angie, same question. You have so much under the hood, and you have done something that I would never dreamed about doing. But I started thinking about it, saying, you know what? I could open my house up to be a museum. Why not? I could have people come to do that, because it's very different. And everyone accuses me, you should have a museum in here. Why not do that? Or have plays, or rent it out to studios to come in and shoot at a home at a period piece, because I own that. I mean, hello. So Angie, to your point.
And I think that's a great idea, Desiree. Really, it is about, kind of what's inside of you and letting that come out. And like Mickey said, enjoying the journey on the way, because we all make our goals, and we have this, big pie in the sky, different goals that we want to accomplish, but it's no fun if you're just kind of leaping from goal to goal and you're not enjoying that path on the way. So that's part of what we do with the Airbnbs is, I find a property that has potential and, depending on what partners I have with me, we a lot of times if it's with Daniel, we'll move into it and stay in it for a couple of years and slowly let it kick us out, so to speak, as we get our Airbnb bookings more and more to the point where it literally doesn't make sense for us to live in that house anymore. And it's, I've got a girl boss property with my sister and my cousin in Michigan. So we definitely, we've got a tenant in that one. And someday we hope to not have to have a tenant in it. But for now, it's, we get to enjoy the back 8 acres of that as part of our journey. And then the front house will be available to us someday when it makes sense financially. But it's really, I think knowing yourself is important. And that's why it's interesting the way that I sell real estate and do real estate. I'm in Helper, Utah right now. And I met another real estate broker on the street. This place, everybody introduces themselves to you on the street. And literally the mayor walked by and said hi to me. I met another real estate broker and she was telling me that her sweet spot is to own doors and buy properties that she rents out to people with colorful pasts, and that she has been selling and doing real estate for 20 years, but has never once put a listing onto the MLS. And it's like, what? So interesting. That's her way of doing things. And so my way of doing things is finding cool areas and finding cool properties and fixing them up and selling Southern California real estate with my internet marketing background. And I know myself, and if I do not get my hands dirty on a property at least once a year, then I am not happy. It makes me happy to help everyone buy and sell their properties, but I have to be a part of that process too. So that's something that I have come to know about myself over selling real estate for the last 18 years. And it makes me a little bit different, but I think it makes me, also an interesting person to partner with or to work as your buyer's or seller's agent, because I definitely understand the down and dirty.
Well, you're getting your hands down and dirty. And I think that, a logistics, guy next door is selling it and buying his, remodeling his kitchen. He says it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks. He says the GC goes, I can tell you, if something comes in that the dogs comes in the wrong size, I can work around it. I can use it because we can't stop production. We have to use whatever we get. So just be prepared. And he says, I can do that. So to your point, you're getting down and dirty. If plumbing needs to be taken care of, you need to do this and this and this, you can do it. And it's not that they're hiring you to do it, but the idea is that there's nothing beneath you and nothing that you can't do to get it done. And right. That is to me a partner, because you can't just be the marketing person. You got to understand fundamentally what are the issues that you're going to be impacted by. So love that. Do you have a book you need to share, or you want to wait till the next question?
Oh, I loved Wild by Cheryl Strayed. That one, how she was just going through this transformation in her life and really challenging herself, not only physically, but mentally on that, on the trail. And just, the part where she loses her shoe and gets pissed off and throws it over the side of the mountain. We have all done that and self-sabotaged ourselves and then have to walk with one freaking shoe on for miles until we recover. That book was just, it was very inspirational to me. And it was a really good book if you guys haven't read it.
Very cool. Well, you could throw it at your back walking with miles on one shoe, just FYI. It's not Valentine's. Yeah. Thinking from a woman who has, chiropractic experience for many decades. Hey, thank you for joining us, Nancy. I know you got a hot date tomorrow, and this is so exciting. So before we go into it, tell everyone about your hot date for a minute. That way you can introduce yourself too.
Yeah, well, you guys know me. I'm Nancy Obando. But yes, I am having an event tomorrow, and Desiree will be a fabulous panelist. We're turning the tables on Desiree. She usually has us on her, her stuff. So now tomorrow I'm having a business strategy and access to capital. And who better to have Desiree on, because that's what she does, right? She's like a serial entrepreneur. And she definitely has a lot of insight when it comes in terms of access to capital. Excuse me. So I'm super excited for tomorrow. It's at 2 p.m. in the DoubleTree in Whittier. And we're going to have the executive vice president of Realogy. And we're also going to have a senior director from Notarize, which actually used to work for Realogy as well. His name is Jason Riviero. So it should be really good. And Bank of the West will have their small business representative there, because that's the point. I think that we all have the opportunity, or are entrepreneurs as real estate professionals, as mortgage professionals. We should all have a business strategy. Like, like Angie, like you're saying, you have your own strategy for what you do and you're loving the journey. But at the end of the day, you do have a strategy to what you're doing, right? So I think it's really important for us to discuss that, especially right now during this volatile market, right? It's changing. And we say volatile, but honestly, haven't we gone through all these changes like all the time? It's just a different thing, yes. But I mean, there's been so many different cycles that we've experienced throughout our career. So I'm super excited to talk about that. I think the second quarter of the year is a good time to kind of think about, okay, what did I do first quarter? What am I going to do for the remainder of the year? And what should I be doing?
The last important part, you'd introduce who you are and what you do.
Oh, like my other job?
You're kind of paying job, but that's okay. What's the point?
My paying job. I mean, I wear a lot of hats. Okay, so I am a senior vice president for Mountain West Financial, and I oversee products and overall strategy for the company in regards to product development, particularly in the affordable space. So that's my day job. Obviously, I'm a mom. I'm president of the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, and that's why I'm doing the event tomorrow. So I wear many hats, and cool. I love it.
So let's talk about the journey. So know yourself, be authentic, and lead in a way that's true to you. And so the idea is that, how has your journey changed, or what are some key points? You heard a little bit about Mickey's tail end and Angie's is that as we go through life, what we thought was our journey in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and some of us up to the 60s, how is that being impacted that your talents have changed, and talk about a little about that, and what book would you like to highlight?
I think that I like what Angie said about enjoying your journey. Like I said, I wear many hats, right? In terms of just work and personal life, all the board positions that I hold and all the things that I do. And one of the common things that people say is like, you make it look easy. Like, how do you make it look so easy? And it's not, but I think maybe I project that because I enjoy what I do. So I'm not complaining all the time. I'm not saying it goes perfect. Sometimes, Angie, like you said, you want to throw the shoe at, over the mountain, but that's not how I feel on a daily basis. It really isn't. I enjoy what I do so much so that I realized that, I just had surgery 2 weeks ago. So I'm still recuperating. But as soon as I woke up from surgery, like as soon as I opened up my eyes, I heard the nurses talking about real estate, and I popped up and started talking about real estate. Like as soon as, and they were like, "You're awake?" I was like, "Yeah." And let me tell you, like,
I can see that totally now.
Good for you.
I was, and my mind was so clear and sharp. Like it was just like, oh, I just woke up. You're talking about Melissa, like I got this. Let's talk about this. And it was 2 a.m, guys. But I mean, that actually tells you that what I'm passionate about, right? That it doesn't matter if, I don't feel well right now, or, I'm going through something. I just woke up from surgery. I'm still in it. Something that I live. So I think that's knowing what you like or what your purpose is, and knowing, what you want to do in life, and then applying that. That's why it's important, because you will make it seem flawless, and you will execute, and you will win, because this is something that you should be doing and want to be doing, and you were born to do.
Well,
But don't you think it's also part of like, because for me, it's like you get what you focus on, right? So you can choose to focus on, this was a bad thing, and so I'm just going to sit there. And then it's almost like the stream of good ideas or helpful hints or whatever kind of stops, right? But if you decide that, okay, this happened, what's my lesson, what can I learn, and where are the opportunities? Because a lot of times, even when bad stuff happens, there are still opportunities in there, right? And you focus on that, and it just kind of seems to push you forward, even at times if you don't know where to go, or at least that's how I experience it.
Yeah, you're right. And it's interesting how even if you're unsure of a certain situation, right, or there's chaos going around, somehow when you're again focused, and this is where you need to go, this is your path, like the answers come somehow. Somehow, like either through a conversation or someone you randomly meet, or who, I don't know how that happens, serendipity, whatever you want to call it, right?
Manifestation.
Yeah, it just happens, and you're like, oh, okay, like, it just, and you continue on your path. I don't have a book, before you ask me, Desiree.
okay. When you hear mine, you're going to go, okay, I got that. So I love what you said, Mickey. It brought back a smile to my face, and a subject matter actually was not the happiest, but 2 points that Mickey said before I answer to you, Nancy, is you made a comment about focus. Something happened to me today, and I kind of shared it with the impact of what we're doing, that I've been working on for 8 months. And I just kept to my target, what was being said, how I could add value, and it was a done deal. So I love the fact that you reminded me, is because my passion and strength of this needs to be done. And I was relentless with it, but in a positive way. And it became, right? But the reason I wanted to make sure I hit you first is because I will never forget, on this very platform, on this section, you made a comment saying to where something horrifically happened to you. And Angie questioned you on, well, how long did it take you to get over that? And you said 5 minutes. And we all were just like, you gave yourself 5 minutes to get over that really bad ordeal and change of life that you went through that was monumental. And you moved on, and you said, well, I couldn't waste my time focusing on the negative. I had to move on to the positive. And we all just went, if I could do that just in a simple manner in 5 minutes. And so I always remember that, because you were like, you remember what your parents said or your mom said, what's going to happen in a situation like, flying. Okay, dad always says, pray, do this and this and this before you get on that plane. Things will be fine. Get your calm, your nerves and thing. But I always remember when things happen, and I'm just like, I'm frustrated and I'm dwelling on it. Look what Mickey did. Get over yourself. Go on.
Set the 5-minute alarm for the pity party, and when it goes off, back to positivity.
But it like really, it's for my own benefit, right? I mean, it's like, I'm not doing this for anybody else. I mean, it's like because again, what you focus on, that's the direction that you're going to go to. And if you focus on and don't get me wrong, because we're talking about like how we were in our 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. I mean, like, this took a minute to get there. I mean, this is not how I started out, but to get there. It's awesome.
I love it. It took a minute to get there. Oh, it took about 30 years, but that's okay. You know, I mean, oh, geez, I'm going to be just like you. Well, I didn't get here until 3 years ago. You got 45 years more to go before I even get there old enough. So Nancy, I mean, think about it. And I'll bring this back to my son. You got well faster because someone deflected the pain because you were so passionate to talk about real estate at 2:00 in the morning. It could not have been a better subject matter because it wasn't about the, oh dear, what are we doing? How's the kids? How's life? And you have to deal on that. Oh, I got this and this. You jumped in the action because you're passionate about it because someone brought it up, and your pain threshold went so high up because you didn't have to feel the pain because you were deflected and talking about something that you love. So it's the best medicine, right?
Yeah.
I was on drugs too, but
Well, that.
but see, you can also focus on I'm loopy, I can't function, I'm not working right, and be negative about it. But you made, how many times did she say? 3 times she was sharp as a whistle, when she was really saying I was so drugged out, but I was able to control my focus on the real estate because I had it in my second nature on how to do it. So those are things that I like to highlight, that, you know, the journey that you've gone through and you didn't focus on that was you went from job to job to job and you dropped the bomb. And if you want me to come from this company to this company, you're going to double my salary. That is a journey. And now look at you. I'm wearing a Valentino today. I'm wearing a Christian Lacroix, or I'm wearing, you know, a Linar, whatever. And these are not $2 outfits. These are thousands of dollar outfits. And I'm going to make a fashion show of it. I'm then going to turn it into a photography show of it. And you as a hobby do to take beautiful landscape scenery photography. So it's that journey that's going from, you know, I'm going through my journey of what I can afford, my journey of sightseeing what I have, and you have everything going. Then all of a sudden you pause and you're like, hey, it's a bump. I'm moving forward. And that's what I really like to focus about, your unique talents and strengths, and empower those around you. Don't judge us what we look like today. Judge us based on what we bring to the table to help you be successful in what you're doing, whether we're losing our eyesight. I mean, how many of you are wearing glasses? I'm wearing contacts. I thought I could never be this, you know, this of going, and it hated me. And I said, I'd never wear contacts in my life. And now I don't even wear glasses. I take my contacts in at 6:00 in the morning. I take them out at 1:00 in the morning. I live in my contacts. I can do everything without without having glasses, because I know how to naturally touch my eyeballs. And I tell you, I'd never do that in my life. So those are things that are helpful. So for me, the journey for me has really been to be an Elton John, as he has evolved into, he has fads and fashions and plays to his strengths and been unique. Born the wrong year, born in the wrong location, have the different passions. I'm a hoarder of hoarders, always talking about everything and anything. And yet, what do I know? Well, what I know is the quality of life of integration. And I know that's different for every one of us. Could I do Angie? No, I could not go around and travel the world. Could I be Mickey, going from, you know, going up the mountain, down the mountain, going around all the places? Well, I love the mountains, but it doesn't give me what I want on a regular basis. You know, everything I own and buy, I need 10 of those and 5 different colors. And I need this and this and this, because I need to plan for the future. And now that the pandemic hit, it was like, you own how many clothes and how many replicas and how many sets of these? What are you going to do with this stuff? So to know myself for yourself, I now know, after being told for 40 years, it's time for me to write my own book. So instead of me promoting a book you need to read or a book about someone else's journey, there is no one, and I can 100% say, and I think you all will agree, there's no one like me. Similarity traits, issues are there, but I'm so different. And that story needs to come from me to talk about my book, my story, and to know myself would be, I think, the greatest gift to give, because you're never going to know all the things that have happened in my life. But at the same time, I am learning from each one of you. You know, when I do my She Centerfolds, we just did Teresa Powell Smith. She broke every record in the book. It was 2 hours and 45 minutes. I've got to curate it down to 7 or 8 pages. It's already 30 pages. Don't ask me how we're going to do that as the next She Centerfold. But the coolest thing is that you would think after all these years of knowing her, I would know everything about her. And yet when we took the deep dive, there was so much that came out that I'm like, you haven't said so much of this because you can't connect the dots and how it's going. You know, we look at our professional life, you know, a little tidbit here and there. And that's what I think the greatest thing is that we as our hybrid between our life of personal and professional has never been integrated more because of you accept me in this house. You accept me having a dog in the background. You accept a baby in the background playing, where before you're not dressed. I mean, how many of you know back in the 70s, you could not go anywhere without a woman wearing nylons? Right. And yet, if you wear nylons now, I still wear them, depending on a color and an outfit or whatever. I've gotten used to my white legs being as white as a ghost. I'm cool. I don't have the beautiful olive, you know, beautiful luxury oiled skin that looks the smoothest silk. I'm over it. You know, I could deal with it. But I believe now that that book about all of us needs to be our own story. And I believe that our greatest gift to our children and those who have known us is to create our own story and create our own book to showcase what has impacted our life that our children, our friends can see. Because how many of you write articles for our magazine or for other publications? How many of you write reports, you know, do presentations, do, you know, PowerPoints and do speeches? Why aren't we tracking our own life? And that's where I think our journey becomes so successful. And those are things I want to really amplify. Go back to the campfires, throw away this device and this device, and we could go on down the line and be authentic to ourselves and say, you know what was the biggest thing in my life? Well, Mickey made a huge impact in my life. What did she do? Desiree, get the hell over it. You got 5 minutes to pity pat her and move on. That is important to me. Okay, you're not working about that. So I'd like to go into the next question. What has been something that you knew was a huge change in your life that could be as micro as what Mickey said one day, that you had to reflect years down the road that you didn't realize what of an impact it was at the time? Because some of the greatest impacts in our life to know yourself isn't that you see it right away. We learn that mom was right. How, you know, my kids would say, you know what? I now know why you said that to me. I now know what that purpose is, but it took me a decade to figure it out. We are not 20, any of us, maybe. But the point is that what has been that one thing that you think years later you thought about it? And Angie, I get to start with you.
I actually had 3 things that came to mind, and they're all along a common theme. So maybe this will help people in, you know, kind of knowing themselves. But one thing that I discovered is that I tend to hold on to things too long, believe it or not. And so letting things go. I had a property in Michigan that was really just weighing down on us, like 2007, 2008. And I literally, like, I was praying about it, like every night, crying about it, like all of those things. And I just woke up in the middle of the night and it was like, God told me, Angie, just let it go. And I had this peace like that I didn't have for months. So letting it go. And I have, you know, I'm a part owner in an internet marketing company that I started, and it was like my baby. And then I was like, just feeling very, honestly, just drained by the sales process and, you know, all of the things that come along with staying on top of internet marketing and all of that. And so it just came to me one day too, like, Angie, just let it go. Give the majority to your business partner and be a silent partner and be happy in that, and, you know, continue along your path, because in order to be able to pick up new things, you literally can't have both of your hands holding something. So I think that is like a big lesson to me. And I guess those are kind of big things, Desiree, not necessarily little, but it was a little moment in time when everything changed, you know, that gave me that courage almost to let it go.
It was your time commitment. I mean, I think that's what Mickey was saying about the value of don't be pity patter, and instead of being pity patter to you, it was really about, it was consuming your life, not focusing on the things that you need to focus on.
Exactly. And if I think back in time, had I kept that Michigan triplex that we had, I probably would not have ended up with my grandparents' property, which was the ultimate goal in Michigan. Nancy, you talked about me having a goal and a strategy. Has been on the strategy since I left there in like 1999. So it moved out of the way so that, with, you know, and it took years till I got, you know, the grandparents' property, but it, you know, we were financially available and ready to be able to do that at that time. And I don't know if I would have been able to do it with holding the triplex too. So
there you go. Nancy, what about you?
For me, it's control. I've always been a person that likes to be in control. Like everything's planned, everything's pre-planned, you know, because that's just been me. And I've always been a planner, and I think I still am a planner, but I don't get as upset when things don't go as planned anymore. There's been big things that happened in my life, right, that kind of helped me like realize, like, Nancy, you really have no control like over anything. You don't, right? I had, my father died unexpectedly. I was literally talking to him 2 days before, and then he passed away. Wasn't sick, nothing wrong. He just dropped dead. 8 months later, my brother committed suicide. Also unexpected, you know, dead. And if you just think, even like 2 weeks ago with my surgery, I was absolutely fine. I thought I was anyways, right? I thought I was fine. Nothing was wrong with me. I wake up Tuesday morning and all of a sudden I'm bent over in excruciating pain out of nowhere, right? And I'm in the ER room, and that night having emergency surgery. And I mean, luckily it's nothing too serious, but I say that because things happen in life that are unplanned, right? Small events, big events, but I never lose my focus on where I want to go in life. And it's not that those things didn't impact me, because they really did. And they do have an impact in my life. But I realize that it's more important for me to be true to myself, be happy with my life, right? Reach my goals, because I just don't know when, you know, I have no control when something's going to happen.
I think that's exceptional in the power of life. I mean, think about today. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know if getting on an airplane. I mean, think about the people who were flying yesterday. Oh, we lifted the mask. Say, don't be in mind if you got on a plane when you start. I mean, there's one thing to do it when you landed, but there's another thing to do it midair. And if you have to be a germophobia or whatever to be in that atmosphere. So I felt bad for everyone, pros and cons, because the unrest of that. And to your point, we have to remember nothing's guaranteed in life, and death and taxes. But the point is that we have to have a program, and the SBA, if you take out a loan. But the idea is that you have to really and think about, did I do what I wanted to do? Did I get done what I wanted to get done? Because tomorrow might never be the same as it was today. And I think that's the power of Mickey's comment. Get over yourself. So Mickey, leave the best for last. What's yours?
Well, it's so funny because I actually have a story about something that happened, I don't know, almost 30 years ago, that at the time seemed very insignificant. So way back when, just like every other good escrow officer, I was a smoker. And I would go with my teammates, we would go outside. One morning, my friend Narda Ward said, I have a question to ask you and you don't need to answer. I just heard about this and I thought this was very interesting. So she said, if you know that today is your last day on earth and you have about an hour to go, who would you call and what would you say? And she said, don't answer it, like just think about that, like sit with that for a minute. And that statement like grabbed such a hold of me. And so literally from that day which it was, we're standing out there smoking, it was like something to pass the time with in a story that she told. But that little story really changed the way that I interact with people. So ever since then, so for whatever, almost 30 years, every time I end up, I end a phone call, and it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's a customer, an escrow officer, my family. You guys know I recently lost my dad, and I got to see him last year. And so when we talked when I walked away, it was like, how do I feel walking away knowing that maybe this is the last time? And I will tell you, it changes how you interact with people, because it changes, when you really think about it, like, what do you want to be the memory of them? And what do you want their memory of you to be? And when you think about Maya Angelou's saying, people never will forget what you say or did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. If you make it a priority to make every interaction with someone the best one, and one that you can walk away from, like even if you're fighting with someone, that you can walk away knowing that you did the best that you could in that moment for the situation, and that you will have peace with whatever was said, in the end. I guarantee you will change how you end conversations with people, whether that's in person or on the phone. So that was something that was like really insignificant on its own, right? Just like, I'm going to share this story and I'm going to ask you this question and think about it, that, today really shapes my life.
I love that. I think that's
great.
Right? Because they just came out today saying the guy who the football player, 24 years old, spent his whole life training. And, you could have thought of all the different things of why he was on the freeway. He ran out of gas. He thought he could cut across the freeway to go get gas, called his wife saying, I ran out of gas. Sorry, I'm late. I need to go fill up the tank and I'll call you back in a minute. On his way back, he got hit. So to your point, how was the fact that he called his wife and said, hey, I'm filling up the gas, instead of saying, hey, babe, don't cross the freeway, because she didn't know, what was going on, whatever. But it took them 5 days to figure out that's how he passed. But everyone else had a different conversation and thought. And to your point, Mickey, is that, this could be your last conversation. In that simple moment, that was the conversation that they had. So in the time of us being high strung, anxiety, the amount of drugs, unrest locally, the snatch and grab. I mean, we can go down a whole deep, dark path, but we never know what the world's going to bring us, because we have never been in a volatile world like we are right now in anyone's life that is currently on the world, except for maybe a very, very few small selection. I think there's a woman who just celebrated her 122nd birthday today. That was crazy. So we'll discount her. No, she's not part of the majority, but how we want to be remembered. And most importantly, what did we teach or help as we move forward? Because if we're supposed to be good moms and good stewards of our industry and our profession and our life, then what are we doing to help each other as we go forward? And I think that's where knowing yourself and leading a way that is true to you doesn't mean that, hey, Desiree, you have to look a certain way when you go somewhere. You have to sound a certain way. You have to, hide beside yourself. And I believe that's everyone. I remember when Angie used to say, well, I don't go around telling everyone that I'm not here in town because everyone might not be happy. And we argued about it and said, not between us, but why not? Let everyone know, full disclosure, full transparency, that I rock. And now you're boasting, I did $2 million last week. I did this, I did that, based on of not being here, because people want to surround themselves with success. They want to surround themselves with confidence. They want to surround them. And confidence and success does not come from being financially motivated. It comes from, in my opinion, being passionate about a cause and truly being someone who has what I like, define wealth by having options. You can be out in the middle of a desert and you can feel the greatest love because of not having the noise that we're dealing with in life. So in wrapping up in our last question, how has what you've learned and knowing yourself to know yourself now, would you like to see and pass on that trait to those that get this? Because this goes on YouTube, it goes on Anchor, it goes on all our different platforms that be. We actually have one up to 42,000 views, yay, that we have on the thing. So we understand live, you can't watch us on Facebook Live. Not a problem. They're all over the place. And so we're so excited. And make sure you subscribe to our little HR here, Reset, is make sure you subscribe to NDILC and the NDILC, and you'll get our YouTube feeds that go on this. So make sure you don't miss any of them. And you can see all the other ones there because they're great. You can play them anytime, any place. But the idea is, if we go back, is how do you pay it forward to now that you know yourself now, but yourself can change? What is the greatest gift that allowed you to change, evolve, to make yourself more adaptable as we get older? And I'll go ahead and start with you, Mickey.
So I think the greatest gift that I can give people around.
We lost you. You're.
Remember that I told you my phone was being funky, and it just did it again. It just died on me. Luckily, it made it through most of it. So hey. But like I said, I think the greatest gift that I can show, like, I have a little granddaughter, and I think what the best thing that I can do for her is be true to who I am and show that she can get to be herself, that anything that you want in the world is okay and is possible. And don't let yourself get restricted by, peer pressure or people around you. And accept other people exactly the way they are. You may not agree with it, you may not like it, and you don't have to, but be who you are and own that. And then that's your gift to the world.
I love it. So what's your projection of you? What do you see yourself in the next 5 or 10 years that you would like as you evolve?
Keep on growing, just keep on doing, like I said, I hope that I can get to the point where my contrast comes in the form of questions rather than in the form of challenges, because Lord knows there's been a few challenges over the last few years. And I just want to continue to evolve and make a better version of me that I can be proud of. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, just something I can enjoy.
I love it. Make your own bed. I think it's fantastic. And I agree that we all need to have a little less challenge, a little bit questions, right? To say who we are.
Yes.
Nancy.
I'm not sure if you said Angie or Nancy.
Nancy.
Okay.
We're moving Angie to home. She's got the peaceful scene in the background.
Yeah. So for me, something that I'd like to pass on to others is empathy for yourself and for others. Because I think sometimes we are very hard on ourselves, and then that's what blocks us from being ourselves, because we're judging who we are and comparing ourselves and doing that. So I think being comfortable in your own skin is something that I would like to continue sharing with others, I love seeing people grow. I love, seeing people evolve and like find out who they are and what direction they want to go, or help them find what they're passionate about. Like I love seeing that. Right. And in terms of growth for me, like growth in 5 years or whatever, I'm like Mickey. I just want to continue being the best version of myself. I mean, that's I can't be anyone else. I can only be the best version of myself. So if I can continue growing that, I'll be super happy.
Ecstatic.
Yeah.
All right. Love it. Angie, take us home.
Well, I would say my greatest gift that I would want to put out there is, Mickey mentioned Marianne Williamson earlier, and she's all about sharing the love. And so that's, I call me a hippie at heart, but I just think, helping people and showing them love and respect is really the best thing that we can do out there, because when people feel comfortable and loved, then they feel that they can be in this safe environment where they can create what it is that they're meant to create. So sorry, I don't know why my video keeps going in and out on you guys, but hopefully that came through with the words or whatever.
We're good. We can hear you. Yeah, we've been seeing you going in and out, so I didn't know if you're playing with the dog in the background. No, just kidding.
No, I keep on getting some weird, it's technical issues, but yeah, I'm focused on my thoughts. So it's, it definitely is something that, it'll flub you up a little bit, but
technology does that, right, Angie? I mean, if to Nancy's point, being perfect, how do I change? How do I go with the swing? So finish your thought, Angie, because I think that the organicness of you traveling and being in the moment and being and saying, here, I've showed up. I have what I have, to say you can draw some black. I'm going to call you at it. You're in you're a normal, not, I'm working out, mode, going with it. And that's cool because you are you're being you. And when we were young, Mickey, you can attest that, the 60s and 70s was the hippie days. So we got to dress and do whatever and anything goes. And everyone's like, look at you. Now we're back in those days where you wear anything, you do anything. Back in those days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can be
you are that gypsy running around being me, and yet you're excelling. And no one would have thought during our age group that you would be an example of a lady running around the world enjoying real estate when look how great you're doing. I mean, hello. So love that. Right?
It really is. And in 5 years, I hope to be doing, greater things in real estate. I know you were talking about fractionals earlier today. I want to learn how to subdivide a community and, build houses from the sticks and bricks and the ground up, and, learn about commercial more. And that's where I'm, one of the things that I'm doing here in Utah now, and kind of just expand on my real estate passion so that I can help other people that love real estate to do the things that they want to do in that arena.
I think it's great. I mean, you think about the retail conversion, you think about all the mixed use we have out there, all abandoned in rural areas. You got to be perfect for what you're doing, because I know people that are looking at doors, not in physical multifamily doors, but doors of mixed use to convert them into, and a lot of governments are very open to it because they don't want blight, but at the same time, they want to make sure that they have the right people coming in, taking care of those assets and not turning them into things that they shouldn't be using for, right? Because we have the good of the people and we have the bad of the people that are doing things that are illegal, that are taking advantage of our bodies, our minds, and our souls as human beings or animals or anything else that goes with it. And I love that. That's just fantastic. And I think that's where, the ethos of who and what NRB stands for and what we created is that, I mean, the acronym doesn't mean is not even the same as the name anymore. And for 10 years, I'm like going, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna make that thing? But the idea is that it makes you think. And I think that's the greatest thing of the delegates and the council is when we look at a project, we need to really think and not be just doing. And that's what I love every one of you on the call is that we've learned to make better on what we're presented to fit our mold, to bring it to the public so we can change not the course of being the same, of how we can evolve, because what we did 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago is not what the environment of the snapshot that we're in, and we have to evolve. So I think that know yourself, if you look at the back end of it, own your own unique talents and strengths and empower those around you. So if you excel in the yin and I excel in the yang, and each one of us have a different on off percentage of that switch to make it better as an eco, we then become so much stronger as a tensile strength, as my husband did as a master's on, and the tensile strength of Kevlar. Kevlar disperses energy over the fact that you don't have a bullet going through your heart. It's for the bulletproof vest. So if you think of each one of us being the tensile strength of that pulling together, and how we're creating that mountain behind Angie's world, that is the power of what we're doing. Because if I can leverage Nancy and Angie and Mickey and Tiffany and everyone else, and you can leverage who we know and what we do, we're really maximizing our caliber and quality and experiences into a greater give back to the community at large, right? But we would have never done this if we don't take a deep dive. And that is where I want to get off of this. Let's hear the same words. Let's use the same repetition. Let's do the same thing. And we need to be true to ourselves by being us. Because if I don't get to see you and hear you being you, and not worry about every perfectional word and you heard me already, and I purposely added a lot of extra words that aren't even real words in my last conversation, because you're going to go, wow, she said something that, did I know what she meant? Yeah, but she said a real word? Maybe not. But do we care?
We get the gist.
But that being said, and that's where I go, all right, well, okay, you don't have a PhD. What's your problem? All right. So thank you very much for your valuable time, and everyone who sees us. How do you get involved? How do you make yourself better? And how do you help the community at large? So we are NDILC. You can reach out to us. We're on every social media platform. Specifically, we love LinkedIn. We love the Twitter. We have a lot of followers. We have 25,000 just on LinkedIn, and we have over 500,000 in our magazine. It just came out. We have incredible people that are a part of our magazine. Our next one's going to be Collaboration Breeds Success. And like you heard, Teresa Powell-Smith, who's a D&I for Berkshire Hathaway, will be our chief centerfold. Anyone who'd like to present an article to be included as we go through. And the next one's going to be Foundations of Many. Real estate is no longer singular. And that will be coming out in October. And the other one comes out in June. The idea is that I want to make sure that everyone, if you have an idea, you have someone who'd like to be part of this, and or you feel that has an ideology like the fractionalizing. I'm in DC's environment on a daily basis. Submit your ideas to us, because what we can't fix is what we don't know. And those are the pain points we want to have out there. So thank you all. Have an incredible day, and be safe and be healthy. And Nancy, tomorrow, 2:00, Whittier, be there, be square for NARUP's business strategies and access to capital. You're gonna hear 3 dynamic people. I'm one of them. And if you think, go ahead.
I didn't say anything.
Someone said something, but see, that's technology. All right. Have a great one. See you all later. Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.